Hey there and welcome to this screencast. My name is Mary. In this tutorial, we're going to run through the process of upgrading a MODx Revolution website from one version to a higher version. Now, a couple days ago, at the time of this recording, a few days ago, MODx released version 2.1 of the MODx Revolution CMS, and that's what we're going to be upgrading our website to. Now, it's always good to keep your websites upgraded, keep them up to date on the latest version of whatever technology you're using, whether it's WordPress or Drupal, whatever you're using. Always a good idea to keep things updated for security reasons and just to optimize the performance of your websites. So let's go ahead. Now, the process of upgrading varies from person to person and varies depending on your particular situation and your particular setup. But for a standard install, for a standard website, the steps that I'm going to go through today should apply for you as well. Now, a couple of things I recommend that you do. The first is that I recommend that you always ensure that you are up to date on what's going on and that you know what the current release is all about. You know what the changes that have been made are to the current release, the one that you're updating to, and you make sure that your server meets the requirements. And this is going to be my step 0 of running the upgrade. The second thing that I recommend that I'm not going to do in this screencast, just in the interest of time, is that you first test your upgrade on a test server before you upgrade on your production site. And as you upgrade more and more sites and as you get more and more comfortable with whatever system you're using, you might find that you're not keen to do that. You might find that you're absolutely comfortable working on your production setup. But if you're new and this is a new version and you're not feeling too confident, it's always a good idea to take your site, clone it onto a test server and run the upgrade there so that you don't have any nasty surprises waiting for you. Now, the steps that I follow in this screencast, more or less, and that I follow when I'm doing most of my updates, I've listed here. And step 0 is, like I said, review the notes about the new release and make sure that you know what the requirements are and that you're comfortable with all that. Clear your site cache, always a good idea. Disable friendly URLs if you have them enabled. Again, this is not absolutely mandatory, but I find that when it comes down to troubleshooting problems, if your friendly URLs are disabled before you update, it just sort of keeps things a lot cleaner. Back up your database and site files to a secure location. I have that capitalized. It means it's really important. Always back up your database and site files. Make sure that you have a backup. I can't emphasize that enough. Because if anything goes wrong, then you have a fallback. You've overwritten your files, but you have something that you can fall back on and restore and have your site continue to be up while you try to figure out what's going on and why you're running into trouble. So back up your database and site files. Did I say that enough? Back up your database and site files. Test your backup. Again, in the interest of time, this is not something that I'm going to do in this screencast. I've already done it. I know my backup works and I'll be able to restore it. But yeah, test your backup. Make sure that it works. Make sure that you're good to go with that. And then log out of the manager before you do your upgrade. Again, just another good practice thing, because you might, if you don't log out, I think that there are people who've reported that they come back and they can't log back in, and you sort of have to go into the files and clear out cache files. So just log out and just keep things nice and clean. Then upload the new files, follow the prompts when you run the installer, make sure you run the installer in upgrade mode, and we're going to see that. And then log back in, check everything works. And I should add here, enable your friendly URLs. If you had disabled them, enable your friendly URLs. Make sure that everything looks good, everything works. And hopefully you won't have any problems. If you do run into any problems, try to troubleshoot what's going on. A really good place to ask for help is on the modxcms.com/forums. The official MODx forums, a great place to ask for help, because everybody's setup is different, but odds are that you're going to run into somebody who's has a similar setup to yours, has had the same problem, or has insight into what could be going wrong. And you'll always have your backup to restore if you need to, if you really can't figure out what's going on. So these are the steps we're sort of roughly going to go through. Like I said, we're going to skip a couple of them just in the interest of saving time. Okay, so let me just minimize that, and I'll post those steps at the end of the screencast so you can have them to refer to if you need to. So the first thing, of course, that we need to do, the site that I'm going to be upgrading, the site that you're going to watch me upgrade, is actually the MODx video tutorials website. So this is going to be a live upgrade. And, if anything goes wrong, you're going to get to watch it go wrong. but knock on wood, nothing should go wrong. This is a pretty vanilla install of MODx Revolution. Nothing fancy going on, not much custom stuff going on. It's got just your standard snippets, a few template variables and things like that. So let's get started. Of course, the first thing you want to do is download the what you want to upgrade to. So you're going to modx.com, Revolution, MODx Revolution downloads, and right here, MODx Revolution 2.1.0 public launch is the one that we want. So just click on traditional. That's what we're going to be using. And again, in the interest of saving time, I already have that downloaded and it's sitting right here on my desktop. Okay, ready to go. Now, step 0, which I mentioned, is that you want to read the notes on the latest release. So we're going to go to modxcms.com/forums, and this might change in the future, but usually you'll find the release, the announcement and the notes on the new release under important news, right at the root of the forums there. And you can see it right there, Revolution 2.1 PL out now. And you can read that and just, that's your step 0. Go in, read that, make sure that you're comfortable with everything that's on there. Ask any questions you might have in the forums. And like I said, if you run your upgrade on a test server, you've covered yourself on all bases. All right, so that's the download that we need. I'm just going to close that out. Now, come back here and log into the manager. So we've done steps 0. We've looked at the release notes. I just sort of glanced at it, but you can read it. Now we're going to log in and we're going to go to step 1, which is clearing the site cache. And just right there, I'm just going to go to site, clear cache. And that should clean out all the logs and make sure everything is nice and tidy before we take our backup. So then step number 2 is to disable our friendly URLs. So again, I'm just going to go into system settings. I do have friendly URLs enabled on this site. So I'm going to go into system settings. I'm going to filter by area. Again, if you don't have friendly URLs enabled, you don't need to worry about this. And I'm just going to go all the way down. And I'm just going to turn this one off. I'm just going to turn it to no. Okay. And that's that. I'll click outside and saves it. All right. So I have steps 0, 1, and 2 covered. The next thing I need to do is take a backup of my database and a backup of my site files. Now, I've already taken a backup of my site files, again, just to save time. And it's sitting right here, modxvidtits backup.zip. Right? You do that whichever way you do it, whether you use FTP. I prefer to use the cPanel file manager, but you might prefer to just use a different tools. And then you also need to take a backup of your database, and I'm just going to do that now. I'm going to cPanel. I'm going to go to phpMyAdmin down here. And again, I'm using cPanel. Server might have a different control panel that they use. I assume you'll know how to work with whatever your setup is. And that's my database there, and I'm just going to quickly export that. It's pretty straightforward. I leave all the defaults. Scroll down, go, and it's going to download that for me. All right, so that's done. I'm just going to pop it here on my desktop for easy access. Okay, so I've done steps up to step 3. I've backed up my site files. I've backed up my database. I'm not going to test them, like I said, just to save time. I've already, sort of run through this before. I've tested my database. I know it works. Okay, so I'm going to close that for now. And come back here. Now let's just take a quick look. You can see that this is MODx video tutorials. It's running on MODx Revolution 2.0.7. So I'm not even up to date on this side. I should actually be on 2.0.8, but no worries. We're going to bump up from 2.0.7 to 2.1 and everything should be nice and neat. All right, so log out of the manager is the next step. Okay, yes, sure you want to log out, I'm sure. And then the next thing we want to do is to upload our new files. We upload the MODx 2.1 files onto the server. Now, you can do this again in different ways. I still have the zip file for 2.1 sitting here. I prefer to upload the zip file and then extract it on the server, because I find that that works a lot faster and I use up less bandwidth than if I just use FTP. You might prefer to use FTP, whatever your preference is, that's fine. So I'm just going to go to File Manager here in cPanel. And my MODx video tutorials site files are all sitting in the root there. So I'm just going to upload and choose File, sitting on my desktop. And I want that one. And I'm just going to let it upload. So we'll just give that a minute to upload. All right, so that's completed. See, it's 7.16 megabytes complete. And we can close that and go back to the file manager. And there it is. So I'm going to extract it right here. And what's going to happen, seems I have a small problem here. It looks like my upload might be corrupted. All right, just give it 1 minute. Let me just... Okay, so it looks like my upload wasn't quite complete, but hopefully now it is. Let's give it another try. Of course, this was supposed to be a pretty painless process, but having a few pains. Yep, looks like we have a corrupted download. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause. I'm going to go and re-download the MODx 2.1 install zip, and we're going to try this again. So I'll be back in a second. All right, so hopefully the third time's a charm. I've gone and re-downloaded it and uploaded it, and hopefully this time it's going to work. Like I said, I'm doing this live, so it's the sort of things that you might run into. Okay, so there we go. There it is. It's got a little 2 in parentheses there, just because it's the third time that I've downloaded it. So, like I said, hopefully third time's the charm. So let's extract this now. I'm just going to extract it right into the root. And what it's going to do is it's going to extract into a folder. So there we go, no problems. So it's extracted its files into this folder here, MODx 2.1.0 PL. So I'm just going to go into that folder, and here are the files. Now what I need to do is I need to move these files into the root and have them overwrite the files that are sitting in my root. So if I go back up one level, these are my current site files. And what I've just uploaded is sitting inside this MODx 2.1.0 folder. So I'm just going to select all, right click and move. And again, like I said, this is going to vary depending on what you're using to do your file uploads. So I'm just going to move them into the root. So move files. That should take just a second. All right, and then I go back up one level, and I can now get rid of these two. Can get rid of the zip, and I can get rid of that folder, so I can just delete those. Okay, so here we are now. We've uploaded our files, and we should be ready to go ahead and run the installer in upgrade mode. So I'm going to go back here. I'm logged out. Just go to verify, and I'm going to type in setup. Okay, because if you look here in the file manager, you see that there's a setup folder there. So I'm going to run setup. And there we are. We're now in the installer, and you can see up here it says MODx Revolution version 2.1.0 public launch, which is exactly what we want. Language is English, select. Now on this next step, you say welcome to installation. Actually, it's the next step. You want to make sure that this says upgrade existing install, and it should by default, because it sees your config files and it knows that you have an install sitting there already. So it knows that most likely what you want to do is do an upgrade, not a new installation, but it always pays to check, okay? Because if anything goes wrong at this stage, you lose all your data and your database will get overwritten. So upgrade existing install, pretty good. We don't need to do an advanced upgrade. Like I said, my setup is pretty vanilla, no crazy stuff going on. My database is just pretty straightforward. So upgrade existing install, click next. It's going to go through the check. Again, this is very much like doing your initial install. It runs a check, makes sure everything looks good, and then we do an install. And there we go. So core installation was successful, and we can go to next, and it's going to ask us if we want to, it's going to tell us to log in and check this to delete the setup. And again, just like when you do an initial install, you do want to delete the setup directory for security reasons. So let's log in. And this is now step number 7. We're logging back in and making sure that everything looks good. Okay, log in. And there's our manager, which is a good sign. And up here, you can see it's MODx Revolution 2.1.0 PL. So we've moved from 2.0.7 to 2.1. And if I just view my site real quick, it says call to undefined method. So it means something is wrong with my Wayfinder. Again, like I said, you're going to run into this sort of things. It's always good to have a check and see. So let's go here and let's go into package management. Let's take a look at what Wayfinder is reporting, see if it needs anything doing. So let's wait for that to load. If we come down here, Wayfinder doesn't even show up. That's interesting. All right, so let's install Wayfinder. Why don't we do that? And you can see that there's a bunch of packages that need updating, and we're going to do that. But let's download Wayfinder and see what happens here. This is the first time I'm actually running into this while doing an install. Well, I mean, while doing an upgrade, so that's interesting. So let's download. And if you've watched my screencast, if you're new to MODx and you've watched my screencast on working with Package Manager to install stuff, you should be pretty familiar with this. Okay. Looks like it's not showing up there. Let's try that again. It's downloaded. So let's do something real quick here. Just going to go to Files. And we're going to look at Core Packages. Let's see if the Wayfinder package shows up there. Yes, it does. And so is the Wayfinder transport zip. Let's go back here. Let's go to package management again, see what's going on. It's on the next page. Sorry about that. Not installed. All right, let's install it. I'm sure you saw that way before I did. All right, next. Okay, fantastic. So now let's go back to site and let's view. And hopefully we shouldn't have that error. There we go. So a little bit of troubleshooting there. Just going to close that. A little bit of troubleshooting there. Small things like that you might run into. But the site looks okay. Doesn't seem to have any problems. Seems to be loading fine. If I open the different pages, of course, the first thing you'll notice, or the first thing I notice, is that, of course, my friendly URLs are no longer working. But remember, we turned those off. So you need to go back in here. System settings. And filter by area, friendly URLs, and we'll turn that back on. So scroll down here, use friendly URLs, yes. And that's fine, I don't need to fiddle with anything else. And I'm just going to clear cache because I had a few problems there. I'm just going to clear my cache real quick. There probably shouldn't be too much to clear. Okay. Let's just close that. And let's view the site. All right. Now if I go to different URL, my friendly URLs are working. If I click on that, friendly URLs are all working. So there we go. We've upgraded our website from MODx Revolution 2.0.7 to 2.1. Relatively painless. One small hiccup. Again, I wasn't really paying attention and didn't realize my add-ons went on to a second page. And the next thing I should ideally do is come back here to package management and update all these snippets and add-ons that, again, this is something I've noticed. I don't know if it's a bug or what, but when sometimes it reports that there's an update, but when you try to update it, it says that there's already an update present. But I'm going to come back in and I'm going to update all these snippets. But for now, the site seems to be working fine. Everything seems to be loading like it should. I don't see any problems. And if I do, I'm going to go in and debug them. But basically, overall, I'd like to say that this upgrade was pretty painless and quite successful. And I hope that you find this screencast helpful and it sort of gives you the courage to jump in and do your own site upgrades and upgrade your MODx Revolution sites to the latest version. And if you run into any hiccups, hopefully it will be a quick fix like the one I did. And if not, remember that you have your backup to fall back to, and check out the MODx Revolution forums. I mean, the MODx CMS forums. Ask questions, and get your site up to date. If you have any question about this screencast or any other screencasts at the MODx Video Tutorials website, again, just create a free account at modxvideotutorials.com/forums and ask away and leave your comments and your feedback. Thank you, and see you at the next screencast.